the rain and the ride. The rain fell in sheets that night, turning the city streets into rivers of reflected light. Sarah Mitchell stood beneath the broken awning of a closed convenience store, her baby daughter Emma bundled against her chest. The fabric of her thin jacket was already soaked through, and she could feel the cold seeping into her bones. She had been waiting for the bus for over an hour. The digital sign at the stop had long since gone dark, and the last message it displayed said simply, "Service suspended." Sarah checked her phone again. The battery icon blinked red, 3% remaining. No money for a taxi. No friends she could call at this hour. Used her and Emma, alone in the rain. Emma stirred in her arms, making soft sounds of discomfort. Sarah rocked her gently, whispering reassurances she didn't quite believe herself. They needed to get home. Emma needed to be warm and dry. Sarah had already missed 2 days of work this week when Emma had a fever, and she couldn't afford to miss another. But right now, getting home seemed impossible. The street was nearly empty. A few cars passed, their headlights cutting through the rain, but none of them stopped. Why would they? Sarah thought. Who stops for strangers anymore? She looked down at Emma's small face, peaceful now in sleep, and felt the familiar weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. It had been 8 months since Emma's father left. 8 months of doing everything alone. Working double shifts at the diner, coming home to a crying baby, falling asleep with unpaid bills scattered across the kitchen table. Sarah had grown used to the exhaustion, but tonight felt different. Tonight felt like the moment when everything might finally break. A black car slowed as it approached, its tires sending up sprays of water. Sarah barely noticed it at first. But then the car stopped, right in front of her, and the passenger window rolled down. "Excuse me," a man's voice called out. "Are you all right?" Sarah hesitated. Every instinct told her to be careful, to protect Emma above all else. But when she looked into the car, she saw a man about her age, maybe 30, with dark hair and concerned eyes. He wore a light blue dress shirt, now spotted with rain, and there was something genuine in his expression. "I'm fine," Sarah said automatically. "Just waiting for the bus." The man glanced at the dark bus stop sign, then back at her. "I don't think the buses are running tonight. It is flooding on the east side. They suspended most routes." Sarah's heart sank. She had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed made it real. "Look," the man said, "I know you don't know me, and I understand if you say no. But it's pouring rain, you have a baby, and no one should be standing out here in this weather. Can I give you a ride home?" Sarah studied him for a long moment. She had always been careful, always cautious. But Emma was shivering now, and the rain was getting worse. Sometimes, she thought, you have to trust that there's still kindness in the world. "Okay," she said quietly. "Thank you." The man leaned over and opened the passenger door. Sarah climbed in carefully, settling Emma in her lap. The car was warm and dry, and the relief was immediate. The interior was immaculate, with leather seats and the faint smell of expensive cologne. "I'm Michael," the man said as he pulled back into traffic. "Michael Brennan." "Sarah." "And this is Emma." Michael glanced at the baby and smiled. "She's beautiful." "How old?" 8 months. Sarah looked down at Emma, brushing damp hair from her forehead. "She's been through a lot lately." "We both have." Michael nodded but didn't press for details. Instead, he asked, "Where are we headed?" Sarah gave him her address, a small apartment complex on the far side of town. She watched his face for any sign of judgment, but there was none. He simply entered the address into his phone and started driving. They rode in comfortable silence for a while, the sound of rain drumming on the roof. Sarah found herself relaxing, just a little. There was something calming about Michael's presence, something that made her feel safe. "Can I ask what you were doing out in this storm?" Michael said eventually. Sarah sighed. "I work at Morrison's Diner downtown. My shift ended at 9, but the buses stopped running before I could catch one. I've been standing there trying to figure out what to do. That's a long shift. Do you work there every day? 6 days a week. Sometimes 7 if they need me. Sarah hesitated, then added, it's not much, but it's enough to keep the lights on. Mostly. Michael was quiet for a moment. You're doing an incredible job, he said softly. Raising a child alone, working that hard, it takes real strength. Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes, but she blinked them back. She wasn't used to kindness from strangers. She wasn't used to anyone noticing how hard she was trying. They drove through the flooded streets, Michael navigating carefully around deep puddles. Sarah watched the city pass by outside the window, the rain-blurred lights painting everything in shades of blue and gold. What about you? Sarah asked. What brings you out on a night like this? Michael smiled slightly. I was working late. I do that a lot, actually. Sometimes I lose track of time and look up to find everyone else has gone home hours ago. What kind of work do you do? I run a company, Michael said simply. Technology solutions for businesses. It keeps me busy. Sarah nodded. The way he said it, so casually, made it sound like any other job. But the car they were riding in, the quality of his clothes, these things suggested Michael's company was more than just a small operation. They arrived at Sarah's apartment complex sooner than she expected. Michael pulled up to the entrance and put the car in park. Sarah looked at the building, suddenly embarrassed by its worn facade and flickering hallway lights. Thank you so much, she said, reaching for the door handle. You have no idea how much this means to me. Wait, Michael said. He pulled out his wallet and handed her a business card. This might sound strange, but I'd like to help, if you'd let me. Sarah looked at the card. It read, Michael Brennan, CEO, Brennan Technologies. Her eyes widened. My company has been looking for someone to manage our employee services program, Michael continued. It's a full-time position with benefits, reasonable hours, and the pay is significantly better than, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Better than the diner. If you're interested, call that number. We can talk more. Sarah stared at him, hardly believing what she was hearing. Why would you do this? You don't even know me. Michael's expression grew thoughtful. 5 years ago, I was sleeping in my car and working 3 jobs to keep my startup alive. Someone gave me a chance when they didn't have to. Eve never forgotten what that felt like. I looked at Emma, still sleeping peacefully. And I can see you're the kind of person who never stops fighting for what matters. That's exactly the kind of person I want on my team. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face now, but she didn't bother to hide them. I don't know what to say. Say you'll call, Michael said with a gentle smile. Sarah clutched the card in her hand and nodded. I'll call. I promise. She carried Emma through the rain to her apartment, but this time the cold didn't bother her. This time, she felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time, hope. The next morning, Sarah called the number on the card. 3 weeks later, she started her new job. Michael was true to his word, the position was perfect for her skills, the hours allowed